And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Jonesin' with Jeff Drake.
Hey kids, I'm Jeff Drake. Welcome to the Jones with Jeff Drake
Ladies
show.
and gentlemen.
We got a really exciting episode today. I got a very special guest, Sean Antihone. Sean
How you
Antihone was
doing?
okay. Sean,
Hey,
he was
JD
the
in the
drummer in the
house.
band Amanda Jones. He's been in maybe a million, I would say probably several 100,000 bands in his life. I'm going to talk to him about that. Get her to name him anyway. He's a drummer, guitar player, bass player. He can do it all pretty much, and he's been in every band there ever was in Southern California. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Sean.
How you doing, Jeff?
Good. It's good to have you here. How you doing?
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you so much. It's really good to see you after all these years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. You don't look any
Yeah.
different though. You could still be the teenager that you were when I met you, but now you have grandkids.
Well, I try. Yeah, too many.
Anyhow, so one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Sean, was and this is in a way, Amanda Jones was kind of like Spinal Tap. We had three drummers. Two of them committed suicide. The one immediately before you, and the one immediately after you. How does it feel to
Oh,
be the only surviving drummer of Amanda Jones?
great. Really good. I mean, I'm sorry for those guys, but you know, it's really good. I mean, we can get back together. We can play. you know?
Yeah. What about Keith? The question is, have you ever
Exactly.
did Amanda Jones ever make you contemplate committing suicide? Ever cross your mind when you're sitting back there behind me and Mandy? Did you ever think I should just end it all?
No.
Never. Okay.
Yeah, in fact, it was like, I mean, I would get letters from like people like Freddie Lynx or someone in Europe, and it was kind of surprising to get, correspondence from people in Europe about Amanda Jones. It was great.
Oh, really? I never did. You got
Yeah,
mail from Europe? What they say?
yeah,
They
I got
liked it,
mail
hated
from
it.
Europe.
Cool.
Really
I guess.
nice.
Well, yeah. I guess being on Bump, some of the CDs would have got over there. Of course, we never played there. I don't think we ever played
No.
outside of maybe in Pasadena was our version of being on the road. Right? We just only played around LA for a year or two.
Pretty much. I mean, a lot of it was a Coconut Teaser, but um, Pasadena was a 35er. I remember that
Right.
place a lot.
It was downstairs
I have
underneath
some
that restaurant.
footage of that. Pretty neat.
And you said you've got a
And
video of that show in Pasadena?
yeah, it's great. It's a VHS, but it's really cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So you were, like I said, you were the middle drummer of Amanda Jones. You were actually played drums on the CD that we put out with Bump, the EP, first time. Um, what did you think? How did you feel about playing in Amanda Jones? Tell me about your Amanda Jones experience.
Man, I can go on and on about that, but it was like I was playing with some people that I really looked up to and some of the stuff that they had done. The Lame Flames, the Joneses. Of course, me and Keith were doing like the Skulls and the Gears at the time, so that's how we got acquainted. And yeah, it was just awesome. I mean, I learned a lot from Keith as a drummer from a bass player. So that was like work in progress as far as like playing in bands and what to play and what not to play and what to stick and what to let ride, so to speak. It
Yeah, I
was it
always
was a
thought you guys
really
really
good experience.
played well together. I thought you guys made a good rhythm section, you and Keith.
Yes, yes, we
I
were
especially liked
we
it
were
when
running.
I especially liked it when we were on stage and Keith would put the Frankenstein bolts on his neck. I thought that was a brilliant touch. I thought that, and Keith sang good backup vocals. He was a really valuable person to have in the band. I really thought we were one of
Definitely.
the better bands in town at that point. We were talking before we started recording that I always thought that Amanda Jones was kind of like a cross between Blondie and the Avengers. You said the Go-Go's in the Avengers, but it's kind of this, that had sort of a poppy side, and then we were also,
Right.
we were a rock and roll band. We were loud and fast, and you know,
Right.
right?
I mean, with the three of us backing the whole thing, it was going to be pretty ruckus. It
Yeah,
was going to be really loud and kind of almost fringe punk, like really having that rock and roll angst to it. but then Mandy's vocals just made it so, nice,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
she's really talented. A really good songwriter. She was really focused, and so she was good to have in the band. She's the one that made us keep rehearsing. I say we rehearsed for about 5 years, but I think it was actually less than that. But yeah, she wanted to make sure we were good before we ever went out and played in public. And then our first show we got that deal with Bomb where they recorded that CD. So I guess it paid off all the rehearsing that we did.
Big time. Heck yeah. I
And we
didn't know we got signed that quick or had a deal, to record that fast. It was after our
it was
first show, huh?
the first show at the Coconut Teaser. I guess as soon as we got off stage, Greg Shaw was there and pulled Mandy aside and said, "Hey, I want to record you guys." And that was the first time we'd ever played.
Oh, nice.
I have a I
Nice.
have a DVD of that very first Coconut Teaser show. It's pretty good. We were a pretty good band. I was out of tune a little bit, but Mandy was great. I mean, she could sing, and she's easy to look at, and she's good. She looked like she felt comfortable on stage. I thought it was really good.
Definitely. I mean, we were just holding down the anchor for you guys, letting you show. Me and Keith, that was our job, just trying to make it as tight as can be so you guys could just tell the story, you know.
Right, and like I said, I thought you guys were a great rhythm section. I thought it was really good. So,
Thank you, man.
so we did
Heck yeah.
Amanda Jones. That was like in the mid '90s, and then you left the band, and but you've been, like I said, maybe hundreds of thousands of bands in Southern California. You want to name off a few, or talk about some of your favorite ones, or
Oh,
you know,
I don't know, man. I mean, I've gone over like overseas a bunch of times and across the country a bunch of times, um, with Dwayne Peters and the U.S. Bombs and the Huns. Yeah, I don't know. There's bands that I helped start, like the Stitches. Um, I was in the Neurotones for a long time. They were like a pseudo rockabilly punk band. That was a band that I started actually, and other bands like the Gears and the Skulls and the Weirdos, fun stuff. I mean, they were all who I liked. I loved listening to it. So I was just always happy to be in, anything with anyone that I had gone to see in the 80s or, you know, that I would listen to.
do you have a number? Do you know how many bands you've been in over the years? No
I
idea, huh?
tried counting one time and just lost count. I was like, you know, I think I was trying to do that one time and I was talking with when I did what 2 or 3 shows with TSOL, and I was talking to Jack, and I was showing him a picture, and he was like, "Hey, isn't that the Cuckoo's Nest? Like, wasn't that?" And I said, "I don't think so. I'm not that. I think I was too young." But they kept having shows after that under a different name.
The Concert Factory.
So that blue sky wall was what gave it away to both of
Yeah,
us. And
right,
I was
right.
playing bass in that picture. I don't know. But he was like, "Tell me all the bands you've been in." I'm like, "Oh God." And I tried, but I couldn't even get through it. I mean, there's been so
Just couldn't do it,
much.
huh?
No.
So you played drums in Amanda Jones. You said you played bass what you were just talking about, and I know you've played guitar in bands. What do you prefer, drums, bass, or guitar?
Oh, I'm a drummer all the way. I mean, with
Even though
guitar,
there's
it was,
more equipment to carry, even though you got to carry a lot more stuff,
yeah, I
that doesn't
think
bug
I
you.
think drums is like I like being depended on, so that's cool. But I mean, guitar's like more songwriting, and then I get into tones. Like I've got an old Plexi amp, and that just blows me away when I turn that thing on. And then I got a 71 Marshall, and it just sounds incredible. I mean, the difference between the two is like really astonishing if you get into it and change the tubes and the preamp tubes and whatnot. You can really geek out with that kind of thing. So, but it's all
Yeah,
about songwriting.
what kind of guitar do you have now?
I have a 54 historic Les Paul.
Wow.
It's a custom.
An original 54, is it a reissue?
Yeah, it's a historic.
Wow.
It's from like 97, 98.
Oh, okay. So it's a reissue. It's not really a 54. It's a reissue.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's a historic. And what they did was they reproduced these things like they did back in 54. So you get a one-piece neck and a one-piece body. And it's got the staple pickup and the P90 and,
So
it's all
a
black.
Les Paul Standard. It's a reissue of a Les Paul Standard.
Yeah, I have one of those too, a 59, like a Sunburst historic.
Okay, yeah, that's the one everyone says, like the one Clapton had. I forget what, somebody else had one that's Peter Green, or somebody had one that's like the most sought after guitar ever.
Oh yeah.
You got some nice guitars. Sounds like you got some nice amps. You got your drums. Who are you playing with now?
No one at the moment. I mean, I'm kind of taking a break.
Okay. Why?
Yeah. Well, I moved from LA County to Orange County. So I'm deep under the orange curtain now.
That's where I'm from. I was born in Anaheim.
Oh, okay. I'm in Tustin.
Okay. I lived in Irvine too. When my family moved to Irvine, I was about 10 years old, and it wasn't even a city yet. It was just part of Orange County, the county land or whatever. Man. And there was just UCI was down there, but it was so isolated. We used to have to drive to actually it was Tustin or Santa Ana on Red Hill to get our mail. Irvine it was tiny. There was nothing there. There was a little Irvine General Store on Sand Canyon across from Irvine Elementary School, and that was about it, except for UCI. It was nothing down there.
That's
now
funny.
It's a huge.
Red Hill's my exit.
Oh yeah, I used to be able to looking out my bedroom window in Irvine when I was a kid. I used to be able to look out my bedroom window, and there's nothing between my house and those blimp hangers in Tustin. I could see them right out my bedroom window. There was nothing in between, but like whatever they were growing, whatever crops they had down there. It was crazy. They're orange groves, mostly orange groves, I guess. And so you live off of Red Hill. That's funny.
Heck yeah.
So when I had that phone conversation with you when I was living in Pasadena, Sean, you told me that you always wanted to be in the Joneses, and you never have. What made you say a thing like that?
Well, it has to do with like, of course, that compilation. A lot of us, or a lot of people, or a lot of punks in the 80s were turned on to rock and roll type punk by Somebody Got Their Head Kicked In compilation.
The one with Box and Graveyard Rock on it.
Yeah, and those songs just stunk out. I mean, Battalion was good and everything else was good, and all my friends were nuts about that stuff. But they were just like, oh, we don't like that band, the Joneses. And I was like, no, leave it on, man. That's a really good song. And they were like, what? What are you talking about? Oh, that's too rock and roll. I just loved it.
Yeah, you want to hear something funny? The reason why those guys, the Joneses had just started when we did that. We'd only been together about 3 or 4 months. And the reason why those BYO guys put us on the record was because we had Steve Houston in the band. And he had been in the Clan, which was like an early Southern California punk rock band that they really liked. And so they had no idea what we sounded like. They just knew Steve Houston was in the band. And then we did those 2 songs. And one of the Stern brothers, I don't remember which one it was, told me that when that record came out, they got more hate mail for the Joneses than they got fan mail for all the other bands put together. That the punks hated those songs. They hated the Joneses. We did a show right after that with the Circle Jerks and a bunch of bands from that record at the T-Bird Roller Derby Dome or something in Pico Rivera. And man, they hated us. I had like spit hanging out of my hair when I came off stage. We were not punk rock enough for those punk Orange County punk rock kids.
Wow.
I guess just Southern California.
I mean that was why I always wanted to be in that band. I mean, just those 2 songs. It was like, this is great. And then I found that single, and I think there was a 12-inch of that single or something like that. Maybe it had a couple extra songs, but yeah.
Well, we did that Jonestown single, and then we did the Criminals EP.
Oh, right. That's what I'm
And then
talking
after that,
about.
the Hell Comes to Your House Part Two, and then Keeping Up with the Joneses and all that stuff. But yeah,
Well,
those early
that's
days, that
another
was fun.
record that
What's
sticks
that?
out is Hell Comes to Your House. Those cuts are just, again, it's like, oh, hey, there's that band again. Wow. Really good
Yeah, that was a
stuff.
lot of fun too. That was sort of during the Tex and the Horseheads, Screaming Sirens. They're both on that record, I think. That was a fun time. There was a lot of fun gigs right around then. A lot of fun bands. That was from about '83 to '85. Before things started changing, that was a lot of fun. And then in those days, we used to play like the Lingerie and the Music Machine with those bands. And then about '85, we started playing the Troubadour and the Country Club, Stardust Ballroom, bigger places. And we started getting a different crowd. They were more like, I don't want to say heavy metal, but it was changing. And then right after that came, Guns N' Roses and Poison, and we were
Right.
sort of filled in that gap between the cowpunk thing and the heavy metal thing.
Yeah, that's funny because I think that's where I kind of fell in, but I leaned more toward like Jones's, Johnny Thunders, stuff that was a little bit harder and not so much the heavy metal stuff. I didn't go for it too much.
Yeah. Well, that was, that's sort of the reason why me and Steve Olson started the Joneses. At least we were in a couple bands together before the Joneses that didn't do anything, but um, our sort of idea for the Joneses was, there was hardcore punk and there was sort of like the Motley Crue heavy metal thing going on at that time. This is like late '81, early '82, and we didn't really want to do either of those things. We came out of rockabilly bands, so we just wanted to do kind of a. In fact, we still had big pompadours when we started the Joneses, and
No.
we wanted to do something that was more like '50s influence, just rock and roll. Of course, we both sort of came out of punk rock, so it was fast and loud. But we didn't want it to be hardcore, and definitely didn't want it to be heavy metal. I don't think I could play either one of those things if I had to. It's not in me. I don't know how. I don't know how to do heavy metal or hardcore.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I mean, I can hear the Cramps and the Flesh Eaters and that, and then some of the hardcore or faster punk stuff, but definitely that blend really works. I don't know. It seems to me, saying to you and a bunch of other kids.
Well, I think that's one of the things that sort of set the Joneses apart is because I always sort of, the Joneses in some ways were kind of like a country band. I mean, the way the song structures with the verse and chorus and all that was sort of traditional, almost like country music. I mean, it didn't
Right,
sound like country because, the loud guitars and all that, but I
right,
think that's the one thing that made us a little. There was other bands like Jason and the Scorchers that were doing similar kind of stuff, but of the sort
right.
of Southern California bands, I mean, there was Tex and the Horseheads and Blood on the Saddle that had more of a country thing. But I don't know. I thought that was one thing that sort of made us different from a lot of the other bands at that time was the country thing. And even though we're not a country band, but we did
Yeah, I
a
remember
cover
hearing
of
that
June
song
Bar,
Bedrock,
Bedrock,
and that,
right, from the Flintstones.
yeah,
That was
I mean,
Steve Olson
that's
sang
kind
that
of got
song.
that tone, that those sounds. It's great.
Yeah, well, like I said, me and Steve Olson were in rockabilly bands together before the Joneses. We
Heck
loved
yeah.
rockabilly. That's what we did, and in fact, we got out of it right before the Stray Cats hit, and so we kind of missed the boat on that one. I mean, rockabilly got really popular, but yeah, we always loved that kind of stuff. The '50s rock and roll, and my cat's chewing on my cord. I gotta get him out of here. Anyway, yeah, those were some fun times, man. The early '80s, and then how did
Cool.
you? How did you get uh, sort of introduced to what I'll call it underground music? Punk rock or new wave or whatever. You said you grew up in what'd you say, Highland Park. How did you
Yeah.
first? What were your first sort of musical experiences growing up?
Well, that would probably stem from like my uncle, who was kind of more into like Sabbath and Zeppelin and stuff like that. And a bunch of us are from New Mexico. So there's a bunch of families that moved out here. And one of the families that we know or that we grew up with, that we had dealings with and or family with from the res off in New Mexico is Dave Drive.
The drummer.
So yeah, that was, and he was in the Gears, and then I took over for him in the Gears. So there's that connection.
Okay.
And
I
then
mean, how did you first become aware of, like, because you said you're about 10 years younger than me. I was about
yeah,
16 when punk rock hit. 77, you were 6, so you're a little early to be, I guess, being influenced by music. Do you remember how you first
yeah.
were aware of punk rock?
Oh, that was probably in the 80s, like around the Eagle Rock area. And there was ERP, they called themselves, the Eagle Rock Punks. And I went to school with one of them, and he told me all
Was that a,
about.
was that a band or a gang?
It was like it
Or
was just a bunch of punks that hung out. It
okay,
wasn't really a gang. But I
like a
said we
social
should
club?
start up the Rock Punks again. Like have these punks get together all the time. And yeah, I mean, from there it was just like, what do you want to hear? What do you want to listen to? You got to cut your hair, kid. And this and that. And it was like, okay. So I kind of fell into that for a while, but always did what I wanted to do. You know.
Yeah, do you remember the first punk music you heard? Was it Sex Pistols, Ramones, Black Flag? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, the big one for me was Anarchy in the UK. I mean, I heard that and I
Sex
went, what is this? It's so slow, but so powerful, you know?
Right, the
I mean,
guitar,
just,
the drums are really powerful. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
People don't
I
realize.
mean,
I mean, people that listen to it realize, but when people hear Sex Pistols, they think, "Oh, punk rock," but really, it's not fast. I mean, they're upbeat for sure, but it's
right.
just rock and roll guitar and drums. I mean, it's Johnny Rotten. He had kind of a punk attitude, but the music wasn't. It definitely wasn't hardcore. It wasn't
No,
like the Ramones. It was more like New York Dolls or Heartbreakers or something like that.
yeah. I mean, the Ramones, I'd probably have to throw in there as well because, I mean, you hear those catchy tunes and you just remember them. You could be walking down the street and just it comes into your head and you're like, what is that? Oh yeah, that's that weird band, the Ramones. I think I like them, and that's where I
Yeah.
started going more toward like everything that way. Just every band I heard was like, oh my God, this band's great. You know, Joneses, Battalion Saints, whoever, it was just like, wow, this band is really good. Flesh Eaters, everything I heard, I just devoured. It was like, this is mine. It's not heavy metal or, Michael Jackson or anything like that I'm hearing on the radio. And my dad worked for Motown West when I was a kid. So
Oh,
I
wow.
heard a lot of that kind of music when I was growing up and I was really young. And everything new on Motown West would come home with him and we'd listen to it. So, I mean, this was just a total departure from what I was used to, like the East LA sound and the Motown West sound and stuff. And then
Yeah,
punk
it
rock
sound,
hit.
you mean like cruising music, like doo-wop, that kind of stuff, the
Yeah.
Whittier Boulevard stuff?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Both of my parents were in bands and stuff. They sang and played, they had vocal groups and played with certain bands that are kind of, popular now or were, Tierra and bands like that, the Salas Brothers and whatnot. But
Okay.
that's just all East LA stuff and where they're from. Now punk was mine. It was like, hey, this is my time. This is my sound. These are my songs. I'm gonna start a band. you
Do you
know,
remember the first punk rock band you saw play live?
Ooh, that's a good one.
You said you weren't old
Yeah,
enough to go to the Cuckoo's Nest.
might have been. I I remember going with my cousin one time and I got snuck in because his friend was working one of the doors to see the Plasmatics.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And I mean, of course, I fell in love with Wendy O. Williams, and
You must have been pretty young because they were around in the early '80s.
well, they were a lot of those guys were my babysitters, like my older cousins and uncle and stuff like that. He was either that or go to grandma's, grandma and grandpa's, and I wanted to hang out with the guys.
Right, right. So where did you see the Plasmatics? Do you remember?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember that. But I just remember Big John letting me in the door and the back door and telling me, don't try and smoke a cigarette. Don't drink a beer. Just stand here.
Be good.
Watch the band. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, wow.
So,
Yeah.
is there any gigs that you did with Amanda Jones that stand out in your mind? Do you remember the CD release party we did where we had at that restaurant after Cadillac Cafe after the show at the Teaser? Do you remember all that?
The Cadillac. Yeah, that was off of La Cienega or something like that, wasn't it?
Fairfax.
Fairfax. Yeah, that was a good one. I always remembered the Teaser for some reason because
We played there
later
a lot.
on, my mom would come home, like we'd have barbecues, and she had her friend that worked with her, and her friend's husband was the sound man at the Teaser.
Okay.
And we're like looking at each other going, hey, I know you. Hey, I know you, And I'm like,
Yeah,
you're that Rastafarian guy that did sound at the Teaser. And he goes, yeah, that was me. And
Yeah,
I was
'cause at
just
one
like,
point we had, I guess you call it a residency. We played there like every Friday for like a month. Do you remember that? We played there every week, like 4 weeks in a row.
yes, that was cool. That was
Yeah,
super cool.
yeah.
I mean,
We
for
played.
some kid from nowhere, it's just awesome for me.
Uh-huh. We did a couple shows with the Darlings. They were kind of like our rivals at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, they were a good band.
Yeah, a little bit different. They were. I would compare. I would compare Paige. Probably she's kind of like the Iggy Pop, the female Iggy Pop of that time. She would
Right.
crawl around on the stage and roll around and stuff. Mandy never did that. She would always stay on her feet and a little bit more sober. In fact, I think Mandy was completely sober. But yeah, the Darlings were also popular right at the same time. We did a couple shows with them, and I always thought of them as sort of our rivals. I mean, sort of a contest to see who was going to be the girl singer of Hollywood. It was going to be Mandy or Paige.
Heck yeah. I
Did it feel
remember
like that to you, or you don't care?
I remember the 35er as well. Like I think that was in Pasadena. And it was like subterranean going
It was.
downstairs. That was cool. That
Yeah, it
was
was
a good
downstairs,
show.
and somebody I can't remember who it is now, but somebody that I know now that I didn't know back then said, "Yeah, I saw Amanda Jones at this place downstairs in Pasadena." And it's, he had to be talking about this same show. The only thing I remember about that show was I had dinner with Mandy and one of her friends. I think upstairs. There was like an Italian restaurant. I just remember breadsticks and like olive oil, and it was really good. But I think that was towards the end of your time in the band because I think I was already strung out at that point. I don't remember much. I just
Ooh.
remember I had to score right after or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I remember going to oh man, what was that place called? There's a few times you and I just went out for dinner. I think it was a salad place in Pasadena. I can't remember what it was called, but I would go over to your apartment sometimes and like go, what are you going to show me? Like, anything Jones's, show it to me, and you're like, hey, you want to go eat? And that was our thing, was like going out to eat,
Right.
and you have that, like a 65 Mustang or something like that. And
68. Right, right. That car
Yeah.
got stolen. That was a beautiful car.
Oh
Yeah, I
man.
had that little apartment right on Michigan. I think it was Michigan Avenue in Pasadena, about a half a block north of Colorado. So, like, whenever they would have the Rose Bowl parade, we'd have to be like barricaded in our apartment because one time I tried to go to the Del Taco. It was about 2 blocks from our house, and it took me an hour to get there just because
Oh,
every street was gridlocked, just pedestrians everywhere. You couldn't move. Um, I
I
regretted it so much. I was just like half a block from my house. I'm like, I got to get home.
bet.
Yeah, that was horrible. But yeah, that was a fun time, man. I loved being in Amanda Jones. I tell people that's way more than the Joneses. I thought the Amanda Jones was the best band I've ever been in, and I definitely had more fun being in that band. I mean, it was a really good time. For me personally, I think I was writing my best songs with Mandy. I think my guitar playing was probably the best it ever was at that time. I had the best setup as far as gear. I really, I enjoyed that role better just playing guitar and singing backups. I never really felt comfortable being a front man. And I thought Mandy did such a great job um, that I would have had no business. I mean, I never wanted to sing a song on Amanda Jones. She was so good. It would be alive would be a big letdown for people. It's like, why is he singing? You know, I thought Mandy was really good. 50 Watt Basement. It wasn't pink. It was like a bronze colored. I bought that from Salva, Steve Alba, the skateboarder guy. That Firebird, man, I love that guitar. But it wasn't pink. It was like a sparkly bronze color. I guess bronze would be or brass. I don't know. It was like a sparkly metallic brownish red. I don't know. I forget what brass. I think. Anyway, yeah, that was a great guitar. I had a 50 watt basement head on a 410 Celestion cabinet. That man, I love the sound I got from that time. That was a high point. Yeah, that tape that we made after you left the band, where we're just record. I mean, that's the setup I was using on the CD, and also that tape that we made with all the material that we had left over after the CD. It was the same setup, and man, it just really, man, I love the sound I was getting out of that guitar. Yeah, that was great. And like I said, I thought that on top of you and Keith, which was a great tight rhythm section, and Mandy out front, I thought we were really good. I mean, I thought that was really good. I thought good songs. We sounded good. We rehearsed a lot, so we were tight. Um, yeah, good band. Anyway, John, but you quit. Yeah, I think we should have given it a little bit more time. You said you had a lot of stuff going on. I decided that I wanted to be a heroin addict again, which kind of ruined things. But at least we got the CD out there. We got the historical document, so everybody can be witness to how good we were. I think. But yeah, it's too bad. And yeah, that would have been one of the reasons we put the band together is I don't know if you remember at that time there were a lot of bands coming out that had girl singers that were really getting big, like Garbage and No Doubt and Hole, and it just seemed like the thing at the time. There was Breeder, and I mean, was that what they called Breeder? Anyway, Belly, the Breeders, lots of bands with girl singers, and Mandy was so good. I thought for sure that it was just going to happen like overnight, but you know, maybe it would have if we would have stuck with it, but we didn't. Too bad. Anyway, Sean, yeah, we got that. We got that. Yeah, show everybody the CD. We got that, and then like we talked about Bump put one of our songs on their Bump's Greatest Hits CD, which was a big honor. But anyway, Sean, we got to wrap this up. I want to thank you for coming and doing this with me today. It's really good to see you after all this time. You look the same. You look like you'd still be a teenager, except for all the tattoos. I don't remember all the tattoos, but it was great seeing you, man. Thank, Thanks for coming on the show. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Okay, we got to get Keith. It's got to be the same, or otherwise the chemistry would be all wrong. So get a hold of Keith and let him know we're doing it, and we'll do it. All right. Thanks, Sean. I'll talk to you later, buddy. I'm gonna hit stop now. See ya.